So in fact, I would say science and spirituality are complementary, not conflicting, additive, not detractive. Anything that generates a sense of awe may be a source of spirituality. Science does this in spades. I'm deeply moved, for example, when I observe through my 8-inch reflecting telescope in my backyard in Pasadena, all those city lights, I can still see the fuzzy little patch of light that is the Andromeda galaxy. It's not just because it's lovely, although it is, but because I also understand that the photons of light landing on my retina left Andromeda 2.9 million years ago, when our ancestors were tiny-brained hominids roaming the plains of Africa. And I'm doubly stirred because it was not until 1923 that the astronomer Edwin Hubble, using the 100-inch telescope on Mount Wilson just above my home in the foothills of Pasadena, discovered that this nebula was actually an extragalactic stellar system of immense size and distance. Hubble subsequently discovered that the light from most galaxies is shifted toward the red end of the spectrum, meaning that the universe is expanding away from an explosive creation. It was the first empirical evidence indicating that the universe had a beginning and thus was not eternal. What could be more awe-inspiring, more numinous, magical, spiritual than this cosmic visage? For my money, Mount Wilson Observatory is the Shark Cathedral of our time. We are pattern-seeking, storytelling primates. To most of us, the pattern of life and the universe indicates design. For countless millennia, we have taken these patterns and constructed stories about how life and the cosmos were designed specifically for us from above. For the past few centuries, however, science has presented us with a viable alternative in which the design comes from below, through the direction of built-in self-organizing principles of emergence and complexity. Perhaps this natural process, like the other natural forces, which we are all comfortable accepting as non-threatening to religion, was God's way of creating life. Maybe God is the laws of nature, or even nature itself, but this is a theological supposition, not a scientific one. What science tells us is that we are but one among hundreds of millions of species that evolved over the course of 3.5 billion years on one tiny planet among many orbiting an ordinary star, itself one of possibly billions of solar systems in an ordinary galaxy that contains hundreds of billions of stars, itself located in a cluster of galaxies not so different from millions of other galaxy clusters themselves whirling away from one another in an expanding cosmic bubble universe that very possibly is only one among a near infinite number of bubble universes. Is it really possible that this entire cosmological multiverse was designed and exists for one tiny subgroup of a single species on one planet in a lone galaxy in that solitary bubble universe? It seems unlikely. Yet herein lies the spiritual side of science. It's scientuality, if you'll pardon an awkward neologism, but one that echoes the sensuality of discovery. If religion and spirituality are supposed to generate awe and humility in the face of the Creator, what could be more awesome and humbling than the deep space discovered by Hubble and the cosmologists in the deep time discovered by Darwin and the evolutionists? Darwin matters because evolution matters. Evolution matters because science matters. And science matters because it is the preeminent story of our age, an epic saga about who we are, where we came from, and where we're going. Thank you. Oh, Q&A. You want to have them come? What? Yeah, we can come to the microphone. Oh, we have a microphone here, and just a microphone over there. Or if you want to just stand up and shout it out, I'll repeat the question. I can do that right there.
Thank you, Dr. Sherman. I'm an astronomer and looked at Andromeda with the naked eye outside the town frequently still. I wanted to ask you whether you think there's any merit to the idea that religiosity may have a genetic value for survival in primitive times, and also that scientific skepticism may also have a genetic value for survival.
Yes, good question. Does He can see Andromeda with his naked eye. I'm impressed. I can't see that in LA. Anyway, is it possible religion has an adaptive purpose to it, or the tendency to be religious or religiosity, and what about skepticism? Might there be an adaptive purpose to that? Well, on the religiosity aspects, no question about it. I think there's pretty good evidence now that one of the things that religion does is unite people into a collective whole. We're very social primates. Probably one of the key characteristics to our survival is just the fact that we're pro-social and cooperative within our groups, although we're very tribal and xenophobic between groups, so we have this constant tension there. So I think, well, I wrote a book about this, The Science of Good and Evil, that basically what happened, most of our morals evolved having to do with social interactions with our other fellow group members. As long as the groups are fairly small, that works pretty well. Informal means of behavior control through families and small group communities, like shunning somebody who is nasty and violates the social norms a lot, things like that. What happens when populations get huge is that those informal means don't work anymore. And so you have to have some way of codifying it into more formal means. So the two organizations that did that around about 5,000 years ago were government and religion. That is, one laid down the rules and says, this is what you have to do if you want to be a member of our tribe, and if you don't, then we're going to punish you now. And then the other one said, yeah, and by the way, you're not getting away with it, even if you think you did, because you'll get punished in the next life. So really, they're both, it's just means of behavior control for a social primate species. So I think religion has always been deeply wrapped up in that, and so therefore I think the idea of imagine no religion, I wonder if you can, no 9/11, no 7/7, this is, how Dawkins opens his book. I like the idea, but I don't think it's viable. I don't think we're going to get there anytime soon, simply because it has a lot of other roles that have nothing to do with science. And in any case, I don't think 9/11 and 7/7 are religiously driven. I think they're politically driven, and religion is an excuse to tribalize people. It's an excuse to commit crimes and so on. It's an excuse to get people to blow themselves up by promising them 72 virgins or something. But what's behind it, I think, is just good old-fashioned tribalism, land-grabbing, power hunger, and the religion is just an excuse. Without religion, people would just divide each other up in other means.
Hi, Nico Sleverins, Occidental, class of 95.
Hey.
I'm also an organizer with the Sacramento Freethinkers, Atheists, and Non-Believers meetup group.
All right.
I wanted to ask you about your thoughts on the imperative of secularists, humanists, or whatever term you would want to describe in standing up and being counted in this civic holiday of ours. And we're here in the capital of the state that has 1 in 8 people in the country. And, look at all of us here. We need to, in my opinion, I think we need to be more kind of assertive as to who we are, what we believe, and how we can best achieve those goals in the political process. Almost 20 years after the fall of the Soviet Union, we're still talking about loyalty oaths here in California.
Yeah.
Senator Lowenthal's introduced the bill. So what other issue, could you speak to that, and what salient issues do you think the secular humanist community should be kind of rallying around?
Well, one of the things that I liked what Minga did with the Brights was to use the gay movement as a model for how you can trigger social change. And it started